How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Well, we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I was just about to ask you if you made that with a light stick, Beth.
Which was it? The swirly thingy?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did that.
how did you do that?
Hold on one sec. Let's see, where is it? That one.
Yeah,
There's a lens ball, like right there.
yep.
And I have a bunch of different springs of fairy lights that are just tiny little LEDs
Uh-huh.
and battery operated. And it's like I don't know, maybe 8-second exposure. And I was just swirling them around above the lens ball.
Very interesting the way it's bouncing off your lens ball.
Yeah, because it mirrors it underneath, which is kind of cool.
Hmm.
I did a whole bunch of them, and that was one of the ones that I liked.
I see.
Was
And
that
that was
one
back
that
in,
you did at the church?
I did that in 2020. I don't think I did that,
Because I know we did something similar to
but it
that.
was,
Mm.
yeah.
Well, it is 7:04. We'll give them another minute and then we'll get started, I guess. I see our speaker is here, so I'm happy.
I was gonna come in late just to give you a little shock, Brian.
I was sitting here watching the clock going, he's not here yet. He's not here yet.
I'm starting to get a complex. Not a lot of people on, so they knew I was speaking tonight, so.
Well, I know Dennis is away, so I haven't heard anything from Rex. And he's probably working, would be my guess. I don't know. Marty
I
made
think,
it.
I think Dennis would really enjoy the photographer I selected for tonight, so I hope he joins.
Yeah, Annie's working.
Okay, so Annie's working. Looks
How
like
about Jim?
I don't know about Jim. I didn't hear anything from him, but he may have grandkids. It's hard to say.
Man, he's usually a regular. I didn't see him on there yet.
Yeah, I see Margie's here, but is that Margie? Yeah, Margie's here, but she hasn't said anything yet.
No, she's muted, so.
Too tired.
Oh.
Oh, he's too tired to click the mute button.
I was.
Well, here comes Rex. We got a few people popping in now on us now for us, Rob.
Oh, test, everyone, audio test.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I came on a little earlier, but it jumped in and wanted to give me an update on Zoom. So
Oh,
here
okay. Yeah, there was an update, I think last week.
well, that's about right for me.
Yeah. I get mine.
One week
I'm
ago.
pretty sure there was one about a week ago because I had a meeting for work and I had to update it before I could have that meeting.
Yeah, this one is 5.17.7, whatever. Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Hi, Rex.
Hi,
Hi, Rex.
Carl. John.
Hi, Rex.
Hey.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I got a couple things, just a couple reminders of some upcoming things to let you know about. And then we'll move on with the meeting, I suppose. All right, so let's see here. To the March WPS meeting is a guest speaker, Silvana Della Camera. And she's going to be talking on time-lapse photography. And I
It's
know
gonna be-
that Beth is heading that up as far as getting her involved in everything. So Beth, you want to say anything about her or anything right now?
She's really, really good at both night photography and time lapses. And she's done a lot that are both, a lot of time lapses of like the Milky Way, and she really is into lighthouses. So there's usually like the Milky Way going behind a lighthouse or something, but she's just really good. And she's done a lot of different time lapse things, and so that I chose that over night photography because I figure with the eclipse coming up in April that we might be able to do something with that, with time lapse. Or even just the moon, which she's done a bunch of those. So she's really good. She likes doing funky creative things. She also does a lot of IR. So
All right, so that should be a good speaker. So if you talk to anybody that's not here this evening, make sure you remind them about that for next month because that'll be a good one.
mhm.
Let's see here. Also coming up in February, the February SWIG meeting, I'll be talking about masking in Lightroom. We know that Lightroom has added a whole bunch of stuff with the capabilities of masking that. So we're going to go over that just to make sure everyone's kind of familiar with it that's using Lightroom. And we'll go over that a little bit. And February 25th is a walk to Lynn Run for a photo walk. I'm sorry, photo walk at Lynn Run State Park. Hoping for some ice or 50-degree weather, one or the other. We don't want it to be just cold and no ice. So if it's gonna be cold, we want ice. If it's not gonna be cold, that's fine, but we want it to be warm enough to be comfortable. I do believe something changed on let me look at my schedule here real quick. Today, February 25th. Yeah, something changed on my schedule that I had scheduled around. It was supposed to be next week. They moved it a week, and I don't know that I'll be at this walk. I'll try. I got to see what I can do, but something that I had scheduled for next Sunday, they moved it to the following Sunday. But anyhow, February 25th. There's Bob. He was here, now he's back. He was gone, now he's back. Those are the 3 reminders that I had. We got March's stuff figured out as well. So that's in the newsletter. And I think that's all I have. If you haven't paid your dues, make sure you do so. And that's all I really have. Does anyone else have something they want to bring up?
Yeah, I do. Tips. I don't have anybody signed up. I'd like to get somebody to sign up now.
For what?
The
Tips.
tips and tricks or whatever it is.
Yep.
Tips, tricks, favorite photographers, whatever you want to talk about for 5 or 10 minutes on a SWIG meeting night. So we need
It
somebody.
could be a video. Play a video. Who cares? You
Yeah.
know?
Play a 5-minute YouTube video, whatever. It don't matter.
Yeah, really.
Well, you don't need to put a lot of thought into this, guys. All you have to do is say, hey, you know what? I watched this video and I think you guys will like it. Let me show you this one. So, it can be that simple. It don't have to be a production or anything like that. So nothing major, but if anybody's got anything, please let Margie know. She would appreciate you signing up.
I'd like somebody to sign up now.
Or right now, anybody want to step up? Step
We
up?
need somebody for February. Who would like to do February's?
Anybody? Anybody? Anybody?
I don't have a topic, but I could figure out something for February's.
There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Kim.
Jim,
All
it's like I said, nothing major. 5 minutes, 10 minutes is plenty.
All right.
Okay.
I'll pick out something. I'll run it by you probably first, Brian, or Margie, just to make sure that it'll work.
Yeah, anything photography. It could be showing some of your pictures, to
Yeah,
tell a
yeah.
story. Who
Any-
cares,
All right. It should be I should be good then. I'll let you know whatever I pick.
Okay.
All right. Just send Margie a message or an email and she'll be good to go. Thanks, Jim.
Yep. No problem.
All right. There you go, Margie. We got at least February taken care of.
Yep.
We'll start begging for March shortly.
I'll start.
Well, let me jump in. I don't know if it's the kind of thing to share, but I have a niece who passed her real estate test. Kelly Morgan is her name. She's the same person, Brian, that I was trying to get to join the club.
Yeah, I sent her an invite today too.
Okay. So we have a date to photograph her for headshots at Century 21 in Irwin. And after I get done with that, maybe sometime in March, I can share those as part of what I did.
Okay, so I got you down for March. Thank you.
Okay.
That'll be the
All right.
next SWIG meeting. That sounds good. There you
All right.
go, Margie. That's 2 nights. That's 2 weeks or
Yep,
2 months in a
that's
row.
2 of them. Good.
All right.
Thank you, Rex.
Sure.
Beth, I seen you had your hand up. Did you have something?
The show that's at the Greensburg Arts Center, don't forget, we need to get titles to Marty by March 25th.
All right. Don't forget.
And if you have a couple photos that you think that you might be wanting to enter, I need one that is portrait and one landscape, so I can put it on our little brochure.
All right. So titles to Marty by March 25th. And if you've got a portrait or a landscape that you would like to submit for the brochure, get them over to Marty so she can get that taken care of.
Yeah, just like portrait style or landscape style. Like
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an actual.
yeah, it doesn't have to be a portrait or a landscape. It can be just in that format.
Format. Yeah, there we go. That's
There we go. That's the word.
right word. Format, portrait, format, landscape.
Yes.
Send them over to Marty, guys.
Yeah, because they're asking for my postcard. I had the postcard all ready. I just need to put photos that are actually going to be in the show on it. I put like place markers. But...
All right.
So get printing. You've got time to get everything ready. And I will try to get a prospectus thingy typed up too for you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Beth?
No,
Nope.
I don't think so.
Anybody else have anything?
When I
Oh,
get more information about the Keystone Salon thing, I'll get it out. But
Okay.
I don't have an update yet.
yeah. Yeah, we're waiting for somebody to okay something, I think. I do have one quick thing. This Thursday is Brian's birthday.
Oh.
Happy
Happy birthday, Brian.
Happy birthday
To you.
Happy birthday, happy
dear
birthday.
Brian.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you and many more.
And another year as president.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What a
Thank you.
present.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Okay. I think that was definitely the end of the news for the week. All right. No one else has anything else they want to bring up?
Oh,
Yep. Okay.
yes, I'm sorry. I know, John, you had helped me in the past, but I think Rebecca said something too about promoting the show. So if both of you or one of you would like to head that up, please just let me know. For like the advertising in the paper and just a promotion part of it.
Okay. And Rebecca, don't forget to put that on the
Facebook.
Facebook, the Book of
Facebook.
Face.
Yeah.
The Book of Face is as Skidmark calls it. All right. Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, I guess we can turn the meeting over to Rob at this point. Rob is going to showcase a photographer, and he's always done a great job in the past, and we're looking forward to this one. So, Rob, if you're ready.
I'm ready. Well, thank you for the nice intro, Brian. But I do have one problem. The share screen button's ghosted on my screen. So do you need to give me permission or something?
I should not have to, no. It
I don't know why it's ghosted.
is your camera turned off? Or no, that shouldn't have anything. No, your camera's
No.
definitely not turned off. I can see you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Turn it off, but I don't think that'll matter.
yeah, no, that shouldn't matter.
No.
Mine's not ghosted, so
I don't know why that is. Are you on a Mac? You're on a Mac, aren't you, Beth?
yeah,
Yeah, so am I. I thought it was a Mac thing. but-
Brian probably is too.
Yeah, no, mine's still here too. Huh.
It should be
Oh,
green, right?
Hold on a second. Let me try something here. Let's see. There it is. Okay. I think I have it now. Okay. Minor problem on my end.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, can you see it? Is it full
Yep.
screen?
Yep.
full screen.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, let me start. The photographer I chose for this evening is Michael Kenna. Does anybody know Michael Kenna, or is that a new name to folks? I'm just curious.
I've heard of him. I've seen his stuff.
Okay,
It's
good.
a surprise.
I haven't. I mean, I when I first started researching this, I really saw Michael and I really found two things about him that I really envied. One was his talent, and two was his hair. I mean, that's really unfair. But seriously, I didn't know of him. And here's what I did. I started looking at subjects for this talk tonight. And I started by going back over the last two that I did. One was Dorothea Lange, which you may remember. And that was she's more of a capture the moment photographer that really wants to capture the moment that tells the story. You know, one that can categorize this as kind of an opportunistic approach to photography, but she was excellent at it. I mean, you go back to the picture of the migrant worker and all those other ones that we talked about were just dramatic shots. And then last year, I think we did Annie Leibovitz, and that was also a personal photographer or people photographer. And she really captured the soul of the person. And, she uses her own vision, and she's much more subject interactive than Dorothea Lange was. And you go back to that picture where she took of Queen Elizabeth, where she convinced her to wear her tiara and go outside and things. And she really is very good at being able to not only have a vision, but impose that vision onto her subjects and really show them in a different light and capture their soul. So those two photographers were ones that I admire because they did people. And let's face it, we do a little more landscape photography in this group than we do people. And I thought they would be interesting for that reason. But I also felt we needed to do a landscape photographer. So I set out and I looked at the usual, the usual cast, right? Ansel Adams to start with, and then Bill Brandt, Stiglitz, people like that. And as I started looking at these things, these are folks we may want to do in the future, but I stumbled upon Michael Kenna. And I thought he was very unique in the way he did some of these black and white landscapes. And I thought he would be a great person to cover here today. So what I would like to do is I'm going to kind of start with a little background of I talked about why I chose him, but we'll talk about his background. We'll kind of go through the photographic style that he had. And then I'm going to show some video segments of Michael describing his art and his development as a photographer. And then I've got a very maybe a 15-minute section of one colleague who goes through a series of Michael's pictures and dissects them in great detail and really shows a lot of insight to what Michael was trying to do. I found that to be a very, very interesting video, and I'm glad to be able to share that with you. And then finally, we're going to kind of come back and do a little summary of some of the things, at least that I learned, and we can talk about it. And then at the end, I've got two little snippets from a video that Michael did that kind of summarizes in his own words what it means to him to use the formats, the styles he uses, and how he views photography in general. So that's kind of the game plan for today. So what I thought I would do is, as we go through this, I thought I would start this video. And this is a video of his pictures, basically. It's a nice pictorial review of what he's done. And I'm going to let it play while I do some talking about his background. This will give you an idea of the kind of pictures he takes. And as I talk about it, I think you will see, hopefully, what I'm describing, you'll be able to see in the pictures and in his artwork. Just to go start at the beginning, Michael was born in 1953 in Lancashire, England. So he's not that much older than me, as a matter of fact. So he grew up one of 5 siblings in a poor working class Irish Catholic family. And surprisingly, he attended seminary school for 7 years until age 17. He wanted to be a priest and then he decided against it. But I have to think that experience of being in a seminary may explain some of the Zen-like calm in a lot of his photos, like this one we're looking at now. There's something ethereal and very calming about it. And hopefully, or possibly, that background in the seminary school was one of the reasons that he's chosen he's chosen that approach. He then attended what's called the Banbury School of Art, where he got his first photographic instruction in his late teens. And then he went on to the London College of Printing for commercial photography. He was also an artist, but he decided photography was better because he could make a living at it. As he worked as a photographer doing jobs and commissions and things, he then attended a exhibition at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London called The Land. And this was basically Bill Brandt's exhibit, but there were other landscape photographers there. He was completely blown away by the landscape photography, and he felt that was what he wanted to do. And he also knew that those types of pictures are better taken in the United States than they are in England. So what he did was he moved to the US in 1977. He moved to San Francisco, which ironically is where Dorothea Lange moved to when she started her photographic career 40 to 50 years before Michael. But anyway, he moved there and he was hired by a photographer named Ruth Bernhardt. He was hired as a printer. And Ruth was known for her ability to manipulate and interpret negatives in unique ways in the darkroom. And he was hired as her printer. So for the next 10 years, he not only learned her techniques, but he perfected his own darkroom techniques under her tutelage. And he's become quite the master at many things. In his time, he's authored over 25 books, and he currently is a resident of Seattle, Washington. So he is a U.S. citizen at this point. Now, looking at some of his pictures, what stands out is, first of all, he shoots only black and white, which is why I made the comment about the Dennis earlier. I thought he would enjoy this for that reason. He doesn't like the immediate feedback of digital, and he actually prefers to be surprised by what he takes, or hopefully pleasantly surprised. Beth, you would know that probably better than anybody else in the club. But for 30 years, he's used a medium format Hasselblad camera. And what's interesting about him is when he goes on a photo shoot, he has a small backpack and a tripod. That's it. And he's very careful to only take what he can carry to a shoot. And he pretty much uses the same equipment everywhere. His rationale for that is he doesn't want a staff or a bunch of folks to be with him and support him, because he wants to do these things on a very personal, intimate basis. And he likes the solitude as he shoots. So let's talk about his style a little bit. His photos are really characterized, in my opinion, by simplicity and serenity. As I mentioned before, it's really a Zen-like minimalism. He has a very great knack of knowing what is the minimum you can have in a picture to make it work. And you see that over and over and over again in these series of shots. You can also see with some of the Lightroom techniques, or the darkroom techniques, I should say, in his case, he's always influenced of Adams and Brandt and other Western photographers, and in a lot of ways his photography is a bit of an homage to those folks. But he differs from them in one very important factor. Adams kind of captured what is there. What kind of captures how he sees it. And I think that's a little different. He's really trying to add an artistic flair to what he's doing without overextending what the camera saw. His photos have a very mysterious, ephemeral quality about them, which I find very alluring. And in fact, if you look at his photos really leave you pondering what isn't there more so than what's there. I think some of the techniques you'll see here that I find interesting, you'll also see that, when he has small things, like you've seen trees in his pictures, they're always at a perspective angle, which gives some geometric shape to it. And you'll also see a lot of his landscape photos where he will do them with the horizon in the middle of the picture, which is a no-no, but he makes it work by strategically placing things right on that horizon line that make it look a little more inviting. I don't know if it will fit in this photo deck, but one of the things that I thought was interesting, there was two pictures of him that I found, and I should have pulled them. One was of Stonehenge, and one was of the Sydney Opera House. And I find those interesting because those are two highly photographed buildings, or structures, I should say. And you instantly know it's the Opera House. You instantly know it's Stonehenge. But the way he shot them, you could tell it looked like a Michael Kenna picture, which I thought was an interesting slant on something. And that kind of goes back to what we talk about in the club of always having the ability to kind of put yourself and impose your personality on a picture. And I think he does that as well as just about anybody I've seen. I think one of the things he's done, if you looked on it, and again, this is another picture where you see some of the geometric shapes in the line, but I think if you look at it, if I had to pick 5 things that really make his picture stand out of techniques he's mastered, I would start with the first one is the use of minimalism. He really understands what the minimum essential pictures are for a photograph. And I think that's very hard to do. And I know as a photographer, when I look through the lens, my view is usually how much can I jam in the frame? And he's thinking, what can I get out of the frame? And I think that's a lesson, at least for me, and hopefully for others to learn. The use of simple geometric shapes in the photos, and he'll work geometric shapes in whether they're objects in the picture or whether they're set up by how he's chose, or what perspective he's chose to shoot the picture. But either way, he gets that geometric shape in, which gives the picture some character. And of course, his use of light is outstanding. one of the things you'll see as we go forward is he really likes, here's another shot of the horizon in the middle of the frame. But anyway, one of the things he'll do on shooting is he will shoot a lot in the snow and in the winter because he likes the calm. Most people would stay away from that because it's a very barren time, but yet he knows he can make that work. And his use of light is very great too. He will shoot photos at dawn or in the dark hours of the night, focusing on light when it's the most pliant. And I think that's very important. You can see this picture here is an excellent use of light as well. He's also a big advocate of long time exposures, and some of the stuff I've read and talked about, he will do exposures of over 10 hours at times. He said sometimes he sets up his camera and goes to sleep and comes back. So that's an interesting foray into the talk for next month when Beth has the guest speaker. But I would like to learn more about time-lapse shots and long exposures. So I think those add a great quality to some of the pictures that we see here. The other one, I did allude to long time exposure. I'll talk about that now. His philosophy on that is if you leave the camera open long enough, it will record what the human eye is not able to perceive. And that's part of what he wants to impart to the photos. And again, that's also part of the departure from the Ansel Adams and the other photographers, right? Those guys were trying to photograph to make it look, to reproduce what was there in a clever way, where he's trying to show what the human eye doesn't perceive, but is still there. And one of the things I found interesting about him is his patience. He obviously has patience to wait for shots and line up shots and all that, like all good photographers do. But he also has a habit of returning to the same shot, the same pictorial opportunity, if you will, year after year after year, and shoot it differently. And I thought that was very interesting. There's one tree that we'll talk about that he found in Japan, at this place called Hokkaido, and he went back there many, many years. The tree eventually was chopped down for safety reasons, but you'll see the tree and it's different pictures from different years, different amounts of snow around it and things. So, okay, let me stop this at this point. And now I'm going to go and I want to share another screen, so bear with me a second. Yeah, there we go. Too many windows open.
I don't see anything from you right now.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. The problem is I had all these videos lined up, and when I opened up Zoom, it wasn't sure which file it was. So sorry about that. I'm going to jump around a bit on these. Let me just take this one up here. Did I share the
So you think you know Wix? Do you really? First up, we've got Shake Video. Surprising that when I was
get rid of that.
that I've done, I was somehow invited, commissioned.
Can everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can hear it, but you're on the first screen rather than the full screen.
Okay.
In 1980s,
Got it.
2004, I went for the first time to Hokkaido in the winter. I'd gone in the fall, the spring. People said, no, you can't go in the winter. It's just too bleak. It's just covered in ice, snow. Nobody goes to Hokkaido in the winter. And such a revelation. It was absolutely incredible, beautiful. Just, as I say, it was like a big
I think it's
white
locked up, Rob.
characters and woodblock.
What's that?
It looks locked.
Yeah, the video's
The
not
picture
moving,
froze.
but the sound is going.
Okay, what's going on? Your screen sharing.
Probably just wind it back a few seconds, maybe 15, 20 seconds, and you were still on the small screen.
Yeah, when I blew it up, it must have done something because I did increase the size.
Oh, that's where it went. Okay. Try again.
I'm gonna take the sharing off and let's try it again.
Rob, just play it on the regular screen. You don't have to blow it up. If you blow it
Yeah.
up, it will freeze up sometimes.
Okay, I think that's what happened.
It's kind of sumier, which is this, kind of ink.
Okay. Let me reshare this. These things never go smoothly, do they? At least not for me, so maybe it's just me.
No, the last one went through fine, full screen and full sound, and it never did stutter.
I actually imported that one into the PowerPoint. This one I'm doing off the internet. Maybe that's the difference. So I should have imported this one too.
Could be.
Okay, we're seeing it now.
Yeah,
Let me pull this back a little bit. Okay.
yeah.
In the mid 1980s. 2004, I went for the first time to Hokkaido in the winter. I'd gone in the fall, the spring. People said, no, you can't go in the winter. It's just too bleak. It's just covered in ice, snow. Nobody goes to Hokkaido in the winter. And such a revelation. It was absolutely incredible, beautiful. Just, as I say, it was like a big white canvas with kanji characters and woodblock prints. It's kind of sumier, which is this, kind of ink brush painting, very minimalistic. Beautiful for me, very, very difficult to photograph physically because it's so freezing cold. And, I was always running into trouble, running my car off the road or, getting chest deep in snow. My cameras got soaking wet, all this sort of stuff. So I think I went there in 2002 to begin with, then 2003. Then 2004, I found a guide, Tsuyoshi Kato-san, who had four-wheel drive car, snowshoes, everything that one needs to photograph in Hokkaido. And then I went every year, sometimes 2 or 3 times. I just found it was a perfect place for me. And the work became very light, with very few details, very, very minimal. Beautiful place. Beautiful. I still go. I was there 3 weeks ago in Hokkaido. One time when I was in Hokkaido, we went to a place called Kushiro Lake. And as we normally do, we just wander around looking for things, exploring, seeing what you react to with the sun.
Coming up is the tree I mentioned. If you see it, this is the tree you photographed many times that has since been taken down for safety reasons. But you'll see multiple pictures of it from different angles, and it's amazing how many times he shot this and how good all the pictures are. So here we go.
We stopped in this one location, and I started hiking into the woods, and I came across this absolutely beautiful Japanese oak tree. It felt like it was really a woodblock print because it was just so graphic against the sky. I continued to photograph over the years. Now I have, of course, many other trees throughout the world that I have good associations with, but this was a really, truly amazing tree.
And over the whole world, those are from historical.
Sorry about that.
World War I promised us a.
I had an exhibition close to Detroit, as I usually.
This next one coming up is pictures he took at Detroit, mainly in the Ford Rouge plant. And they're a bit of a departure from what his normal photography is, but they're just as stunning. And I think hearing him talk about how it all evolved is interesting, and seeing the pictures as well. So here we go.
I asked, is there anything around here that I should photograph? And I was introduced to the Rouge factory. This was a bit like the Kushiro Lake tree story insofar as I went with a guide to show me, and I spent one afternoon there, I made pictures. And I thought, that's nice, but not so interesting for me. I don't think I'll come back here. And, I've had my film processed, and, many weeks later, I made contact sheets, and I looked at them and said, hey, amazing. What an incredible place. These images are fantastic. And that's another of those learning things that, I've mentioned before. I cannot predict myself what is happening. But I was able to work there in the middle of the night, through the night, wherever I wanted, and I was an incredible place because half of the factory was closed down, but half of the factory was still making steel. So there's, this sound, lights, fire, lots of stuff going on. The ground would vibrate from time to time. I would be able to climb up onto all these cranes in the middle of the night and make these long exposures. So it was an incredible experience. I started going to Versailles, and then to Sceaux, and then to Courance.
Okay. The next one I'm going to do is one on night photography, which I think is really interesting. I find it.
77, which is a long time ago now. I went back to the States. I had jet lag. And I remember being in upstate New York, photographing in the middle of the night. And I think that was really my first serious night photography. I had no idea what I was doing, because the exposure meters don't really work at night. They're not sensitive enough. But it made me realize that there was a whole other palette that I could work with. So I started getting up earlier, going to bed later. And slowly I became a night photographer. There's a sense of technical challenge too, because it's difficult to predict and control what's going to happen. So yes, you can begin to see where the clouds are, so you'll know where the movements are. You can understand how the stars kind of revolve around the North Star, so you can work out your star trails. But this morning we were photographing here in Karnak, just 10 or 15-minute exposures, but suddenly a car comes down the road with big headlights and the exposure is probably ruined. So this is something you can't really prepare for. But for me, it's exciting. I like it when I'm not in control, when I don't really know what's going on completely. Often I leave cameras for an hour, sometimes 4 or 5 hours, sometimes all night for 10 hours, even up to 12 hours. I've left them on roofs and fields. Usually you can't really do that in the city unless you're right next to it, but I can happily leave, a camera on a tripod in 2 different places and go to bed and then wake up, an hour before dawn and collect them. I mean, for the most part, early on, I used to teach night photography, and I was much more proactive in my early night photography career about actually using flash and night lights, flashlights, torches, to illuminate things, to fill in shadows. For many years, I just didn't bother. I just used exactly what was there. More recently, I carry along, flashlights with me. Sometimes I actually carry an electronic flash, and that electronic flash I bought in 1985. It's an old thing. It's very manual. Everything I use is manual, but I can try to control myself. Nothing is automatic. So with the alignments this morning, the exposures were long, and the gray stones tend to blend into each other. So I felt it was important to just add some light. So I painted with my flashlight. And then when it started getting lighter, I wanted to use actual electronic flash because it's a little stronger. In the mid-80s, I bought a Hasselblad camera, my first one. And essentially that has been my mainstay since that time. So it's 30 years, I suppose, is it? 30 years, yes. And some of the pieces of camera equipment I have are 30 years old. I don't need to change them very much. They seem to go on forever. I made a point early on that I would only use whatever I could carry myself, because I don't really use assistants unless I absolutely have to or it's commercial work. But I like to be able to travel with just a backpack and a tripod. That's it.
Great. Now we've heard from Michael directly. Now this guy here goes through a bunch of Michael's early pictures and does an excellent job of interpreting them and talking about them and helping to verbalize why they're special. So let me start this up and hopefully you'll enjoy as much as I did.
Of the Michael Kenna, the 20-year retrospective. Now, there are 2 volumes of this. This is volume 1. There is a volume 2 of this. The reason I have selected this is because I want to look at some of Kenna's earlier work, because I think it makes sense to see where he's come from. And what you're going to realize in here that for Kenna, you know, a life's body of work is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And this is a wonderful book, easy to find. It's not one of the real collectible Kenna books. But what's interesting to me here, and this is the first image that's in the book, and this is from 1975. This is Richmond, Surrey, England. And you can see that there is a little bit of a difference between the more modern work that Kenna has done, which a lot of which I showed during the biography, and some of this early work. You don't see the square format, for instance. Some of this was done 4x5. Some of it may be 35 millimeter. I'm not exactly certain on that, but I believe 4x5 and 6x6 were the 2 formats he shot the most of, 6x6 being what he's settled on in the modern day. But you can already see, you know, this a Zen minimalism kind of approach here, you know, where you have this beautiful printing technique of almost pure black at the bottom to you get kind of pure white sort of in here at the base of the trees, but it's this gradient moving up and it's these trees in mist. And it's just a beautiful photograph. And a lot of his early work is, you know, you can see how it developed into what he's doing today. I love this one of the reeds. This is from 1977. So these were pretty early. This is around the time he came to the United States and started working for Ruth Bernhardt. And by the way, Ruth Bernhardt wrote the intro to this book, which is really
Excitement comes standard with a Honda Accord. And so does a turbocharged.
Really kind of cool. She says some really nice things about Kenna. But I think looking at these early images, there's a lot of interest that you see, you know, with implied leading lines, for instance, with composition, where we have the rectangular image, the sun kind of being on the point of the rule of thirds here, but the point of interest being this row of trees here. It's not a bunch of trees, it's one row of trees. And to get that minimal with the composition and the way he shot it, the angle he chose, where you get a leading line that goes down in perspective with the top of the tree here and, you know, this kind of triangular form that shapes here. And when you can reduce the image to those geometrical shapes, a lot of times that's when, you know, a lot of the minimalist photographers, certainly Kenna included, some of the time, you know, where they start to really come into play. You know, the horizon line being in the middle of the frame here. You know, a lot of us are told early on in composition, that's not what you want to do. You don't want to do that. And here Kenna's doing it to great effect. But what makes it are these little points of interest on the horizon line, this little group of trees, the structure, and then the other tree. And then the beautiful detail in these clouds. And you can see that even early on, Kenna had a real nice, really solid eye for printing. Another one that I really love is this one. And this is from 1974. But the way the mist works with the clouds and the trees below. And, you know, these kinds of images, the difficulty in shooting them is waiting for the right moment. And there's no question that Kenna is one of those photographers who has a lot of patience, is willing to wait for that moment. It was willing to put the time into it to do that. He didn't just walk out and shoot that one day. That was probably plotted and waited on as far as sunset goes and all that stuff. Another interesting one, this is later, this is from 1991, and you start to see Kenna's style mature quite a bit. I love this. It's a landscape photo, but what you have down here in the foreground, it fades to black, but you have sheep here on the foreground, and then this flock of birds that's just kind of morphing its way through the composition, and it's absolutely brilliant. And again, look at the printing, look at the techniques that are included here, the way it goes to almost black down at the bottom, the way that landscape is really burned in, and then the way that you have this luminance coming through the haze and the sun, and then the birds are in the right place. So, you know, I think with Kenna, and what most people don't realize a lot of times is that the maturity of him as a photographer extends both in the printing and the composition and what happens in camera. And I think this is where you start to see a slight homage to Ansel Adams and a lot of the photographers that came before him. And we're going to look at some of those images too, where he pays a little bit of tribute at times, which I think is wonderful. You know, he's aware of where he is in that lineage and where he is in terms of modern photography. Another beautiful one, just very simple landscape, this pyramid hill in the back and a tree. To reduce it just to that, especially when you're in an exotic location, I mean, that takes a lot of patience and skill to master, and it's absolutely unbelievable. I'm going to bump up just a little bit here, and this is another one. Now, a while back, I did a video that I called Interpretations. And what I did was I picked, and I'd like to do another one of these in the coming episodes, where I pick a point of interest that multiple photographers have covered and how you immediately see the difference in their styles. And I think this embodies a lot of that, which is an image of Stonehenge in England, and how many photographers have shot Stonehenge. And it looks like Michael Kenna. It does not look like somebody else did it. You can tell it's Kenna's style. And I think this is absolutely brilliant. This is from 1990. Again, the printing technique, the time of day it's shot, the way that the eye is drawn in using light and painting with light. Again, some of this is done in camera, some of this is done, you know, in the printing techniques in the darkroom. But, you know, I'd like to do another interpretations episode, because I think this kind of image is what brings that down. When you see multiple photographers shooting the same thing, but all retaining their own voice. And I think that's where photography for me becomes very interesting. And I think it's a great way to learn. And you can see this with a lot of, these are, I call them more recent. This is 1990 also. This is Glastonbury Tour study number 3 in Somerset, England. And it's just the essentials. You know, I talked a little while ago about the Gestalt and the German idea in graphic design of boiling it down to only the essential elements. And this is what's really hard as a photographer, I think, is not so much what you shoot, it's what you're not shooting. And I think Kenna represents that so well. Another homage here, we're starting to see, you know, images of the Southwest. This is New Mexico, USA, obviously Stieglitz and, you know, his lady, Georgia O'Keeffe, really being identified with that part of the United States. But here we have a completely different interpretation of this, and it is pure Michael Kenna. This is from 1993. What's interesting, though, is this figure of the dog running past. And that's something you don't see a lot in Kenna's imagery. And I don't know if you're going to pick this up on the video or not. It's over here. And the way that's kind of highlighted with a little bit of dodging in the print. I mean, he's definitely in the shadows, and so that was done post. But very beautiful effect and very meaningful composition technique. I'm going to bump up a little more here. And another one of my favorite images, and this is where you start to see Kenna really develop a lot of his own personality here. And I also think in some ways, you know, and I'm not trying to compare him to Salgado at all, but this is more of a Salgado kind of approach here, where you have this frozen fountain, and this is in Detroit, Michigan, and it's a frozen fountain, so it's ice that's formed as the fountain stayed up all night or whatever it was. And, you know, just this galumphing, simplistic detail in the fact that it's just a geometric shape, but when you get into it, you see all these fine details of these plumes of water that formed into ice. And really magnificent, beautiful. Another thing I should mention too, along these lines, another one that I really love from Detroit, Michigan, and just the simple cross that this makes. You know, Kenna tends to work in large scale projects that he will take on and kind of commit himself to indefinitely. And some of these include places like China. They include places like the Easter Islands, perhaps. You know, one of the big ones he did was the concentration camp locations of the images he donated to the state of France. And he will just kind of like, again, that plays in with that Zen meditative quality to it, where he will revisit a location and stay on it and not give up and revisit it year after year after year. And it's really interesting too, because I think in Kenna's case, you're going to see very minor differences, but they are differences nonetheless. And there's a whole body of work in here that we'll get into that was done, we'll start to separate it out. The Detroit stuff's later in Michigan, showing that kind of deconstruction. And if you're familiar with the United States, you know that Detroit is a city that is in a lot of major state of disrepair. In fact, since we're talking about that, let me bump ahead, see if I can find those images. and to really take that on with a level of respect. It's at the end of the book here. Let's see if I can find it. That it deserves, and with that kind of meditative exploration to it is completely amazing. Here we get into doc images. Here it comes. So here's Dearborn, Michigan. So this is all basically Midwest United States, but this element of industry, the way, again, painting with light, and the way that you see these beautiful clouds and this moisture come into the image, and you see the state of industry probably a little bit in a state of decline, but a lot of the way these shapes work, and not only that, but and you see this probably, I would say, in Alvin Langdon Coburn's work, which is much earlier than Kenna, almost 100 years per se, but when you see these big, dark, high contrast shapes, and the way that he uses light to add a dimension and a quality to this work. So obviously the foreground is completely black, and as it starts fading to the back, these structures become lighter and lighter. And so you get this real three-dimensional quality to the print, which is simply fabulous. It's amazing. These are all from Dearborn, Michigan. And I really love these images. I think that this is one of his lesser known sets of work, but I think it's extremely important. It really paints this picture of the industrial nature of what's going on in this part of the United States. And it's, rapid decline, I think, as you see in recent years. But anyway, back on track. Another famous set of his that he's known for are these shots of Radcliffe Power Station in the UK. And this was another study. And again, it's not just going out and shooting one image. It's going out and revisiting and shooting a collection of images and experimenting with possibilities. So in some of these, you see very long, possibly nighttime exposures, where you have these clouds that tend to, because the wind is blowing and they're moving, they tend to become very smooth and flow through the composition like that. Whereas others, as you'll see, like this one on the right, they're shorter exposure. And so that element of time and how that affects the picture, it's a shorter exposure. And so you don't have the blur and that flow to the image. In others you do. And so it's just a really interesting character study of what's possible here. This one on the left, I absolutely adore. This is from 1984. And what's interesting is, if you took this out of the context of the other images, it may not have the same effect because you're only seeing a partial shape here, and the way the smoke billows out of that. And I think that reducing it down and creating a curiosity, maybe not including the whole image of what you're seeing sometimes, is just as important as something like this where you do see the whole image. And Ken is just a master of that. These really long exposures where you start to see a really lush, smooth texture, almost organic in nature of what's going on with the images. Another one where you can actually see the stars moving. Again, long exposure via time with that, and amazing stuff. Anyway, another one of my favorites, I think, and you get that same effect here. This is the other side of the world here. This is Florida from 1992. And you simply have an overturned chair or lawn chair on the beach, and experimenting with the beach. And again, this would make good material for the interpretation section, because the way that somebody like Michael Kenna approaches water and ocean, and it's completely different than somebody, let's say Hiroshi Sugimoto, who has a very different interpretation of what that should be. Another one of my favorites, just this little group of sticks here, and how that communicates through the image with the textures, with the clouds, with the water. Only enough information is given so that where we see that that's water. We definitely have a horizon. The water is different than the sky, and then even these are mirrored. So there's a sense of symmetry, but also isolation of these elements. And it's just what makes Michael Kenna so fabulous. Another one that is very cool here too, and I bookmarked this because if you're a fan of Henri Cartier-Bresson, this pays a little homage, and actually it is entitled Homage to HCB, Brittany, France, 1993. There's a famous image that Henri Cartier-Bresson took of the same row of trees with the road going through. His composition was much different. It was a rectangular format. It extended out here, used rule of thirds and a lot of these painter composition techniques. But again, interpretations. And so how has Kenna reinterpreted this image to be his own? And that is the stamp of of personality. And that's what I think so few people understand about somebody like Michael Kenna. That is what he is saying, is that he is putting his own voice into it and doing it that way. And I think that vote is severely missed a lot of times. I'm going to end it with this one. This is one of my absolute favorite images. And what I love about this is there's almost a cartoonish illustrative type quality to this image. This is another one from Paris. This is called Windy Trees. The way the focus is played with here, the wind is obviously blowing, that element of time comes in, and he has chosen a duration of shutter speed that gives you just enough motion to get a little bit of blur and a little bit of inconsistency through here and a little bit of this surrealistic quality. The second thing that makes this is the composition, rectangular format, and you only see this trunk. You're not given another one. And so it kind of looks like this weird tree is extended out into what is not actually possible in real life. And I think this is just the sense of play, the sense of personality, the sense of timing is what makes Michael Kenna so absolutely amazing. Uncle Kenna is one of the more important figures in modern.
Okay, I love those pictures, and I got to tell you, the last one he finished on is probably my least favorite, but they are certainly an interesting group of shots.
Mm-hmm.
Now to come into the end here, what I have is I've got two snippets of him talking about it. The first one kind of describes his digital versus film philosophy and why he feels that way. And the second one is it's just kind of a nice summary of how he views photography. Let me play these two, and hopefully you'll enjoy them as well.
Instant gratification. Yeah. Don't want to know what I've just.
Okay. We started a little earlier.
To Mamiya 6-7, and then settled on the Hasselblad 2¼ square.
I shoot film for many, many reasons. All the really good aspects of the digital revolution, I rebel against. I don't want an instant gratification. I don't want to know what I've just photographed. I don't need, this high fidelity. It's for me, I prefer this slow process. I prefer the journey more than the destination, frankly. So, if it takes me 6 months to get to a print, that's absolutely fine. It's not all very controllable, which I really like. I don't like it to be so predictable that I know exactly what I have each time.
He isn't rigid about maintaining the square format.
He is my kind of guy.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that clip, Beth. I had to pull that out just special for you. I thought you would love that. But this last one's really cool. I like the way he summarizes this. I think you'll enjoy it as well.
Sports person, any dancer, they're constantly practicing. And you never know when right.
I come back a little bit.
Take
Sorry
care,
about
and I'll
that.
see you next time. Cheers.
It comes down to passionate intensity and hard work, basically. Those are the things that get you there. But it's hours you put into it. As I say, I've been doing it for 40 plus years, but it's kind of daily, nightly, it's all the time. You're always looking. And any photographer or any artist or any sports person, any dancer, they're constantly practicing. And you never know when the right moment occurs.
The decisive
no
moment.
idea. It just you just don't know. But you had to be prepared for it. So what was it? Pliny says fortune favors the brave, and then Pasteur said fortune favors the prepared mind. And my favorite one that I think I invented is fortune favors those who work the hardest. And as a photographer, it is that there's something unique about every single person. And you have to tap into that. And it's not easy to find. If it was easy to find, we'd all be creative geniuses. Very few of us even have the time to get it.
Well, that was my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your attention. I think he's a wonderful photographer, and I really am amazed at some of the stuff he was able to create. So I know I enjoyed it, and hope you did as well.
Thank you. It was very interesting. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Very nice. Very nice.
You're welcome. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, he was a great choice.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, as always, we appreciate that. It was very good. We look forward to your next one next year.
Okay.
It's definitely, when we were talking about the planning committee and that, this is one that always comes up and is your presentations and your spotlight on a photographer. So you do an excellent job. You pick good photographers and we appreciate it. So thank you. It was very good.
Well, thank you for the nice comments. I greatly
Yeah.
appreciate it. So I enjoy doing it too.
Rob, even in his latter years, he just sent his films to be developed. I mean, he did not do digital. Is that correct?
No, it's all film. It's all that
It's all
hassle
film.
camera. Yeah, 30-year-old camera. He uses the same one. He sees no
Uh-huh.
reason to change equipment.
Did
I
he
mean,
develop his own films or he sent it out? Do you know if he sent it out for
No.
processing?
He processes everything and prints it himself, as far as I know.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's why he said it could take 6 months to get to an image, because he's working it, and he's got some interesting techniques, and he really is a clever guy. And I think what drew me to him was he takes the landscapes to the next step, to the creative artistic step. And I appreciate that, because that's something I really struggle with photography, because what I'm good at is capturing that image, making it sharp, making it look right, getting the right color balance, right composition, but I'm not good at the artistic side of it. And he just blew me away because of what he was able to do on some of those shots.
Very good, Rob. Again, very good. Good news.
And Beth is probably saying 6 months for an image. It takes me 6 years.
I was actually just thinking about, I finally got all of my backlog developed of all of my 4x5 stuff, except for the color, which I have to mail out. And I pulled out a couple. I'm like, oh, that's from Carrie Furnace. I didn't go there last year. But
Okay.
They have to be from like 22, I think. But they're developed now.
Well, the pictures he took at the River Rouge plant reminded me of Carrie Furnace too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he did have the opportunity to have part of the plant working, where we don't have that at Carrie Furnace, but
I liked what he said about he decided to start taking some pictures of nighttime.
Right.
And he enjoyed that, so he started going to bed later or getting up earlier and going to bed later and getting up earlier, and the next thing you know, he was a nighttime photographer. So that's dedication, because most of us either don't go to bed early or don't get up early. I'm not getting up early. What about the rest of you? But
No.
and then he goes out and he puts his Hasselblads in the field and then goes home and goes to bed.
Yeah, yeah.
Gets up in the morning and goes back and picks them up. I'm not sure about that process, but hey.
Yeah.
Where you
also,
are.
I don't think it was in what I played, but one of the ones he said, he's talking about it, and he says, well, you can do that out in the country, but you really can't do that in the city.
No.
Yeah. So,
Maybe he just pitches a tent.
yeah.
It would be interesting to know if there was any issues like condensation on the lens or anything that, through that long time lapse of 10 hours. You would think that something would, I don't know, get on the lens and mess up the shot.
I know a lot of night photographers who do even time lapse and stuff like that have heaters for their lenses so that they end up with the condensation issues.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, if there's a gadget that can be invented, someone probably has.
Wow, that's interesting. How about the battery life, Beth? I mean, does the hospital have
There's
he
no
had
battery
manual,
in
right?
most
It wasn't
hospitals.
digital, right?
Yeah, the film Hussies don't really have batteries. I don't know if any of them do.
Okay, so it's just manual. Everything is manual.
Yeah.
No, I had a couple Hasselblads, and only the Prism Finder has a small coin cell for the light meter that's in it. You can buy motor-driven backs for the Hasselblad, but generally speaking, you just crank them. They're just a single crank.
Yeah, so he's basically turning the light switch on, opening up the shutter, and he'll come back in the morning and turn it back off. Kind of thing.
Well, one of the pictures I saw, I don't think it was in what I presented, but he had one of those old fashioned, remotes that you just plunge it down and screw it in and to leave the shutter open,
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Yep.
I have a few of those.
I'd say I've got a couple of them here too.
Yeah, probably.
Yep. So, yeah, it's one. I mean, that's again, that's one of the nice things. If you're shooting film and you're shooting an all manual camera, you don't need a battery.
Yeah.
So all it's doing is holding. Especially like something like that with the old shutter release that you push the button down and screw it together and lock it in. You can leave that alone for hours and hours and hours, and it'll just stay there, or days if you wanted to. So.
He also mentioned that he did not use or couldn't use a light meter at nighttime. So how would he determine exposure and time and all that? That's interesting. Did he mention anything about that, Rob?
No, not anything I came across. I think that's part of the category of trade tricks, maybe.
Okay.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You-
well, one of the
gotta know.
things, let me see, am I still turned on? Yeah. One of the things you can do, usually the Hasselblads only came, I shouldn't say just the Hasselblads, but any of those media square formats or 6x7 centimeter formats, you just had 120 and 220. So what you would do is you'd take your first shot, your second shot, your third shot at what you thought was right. And then you would.
Yes, this is she. Is this Shirley?
I'm sorry, what? And then.
I thought that would be your.
So if that took 2 or 3 hours, that means the light has changed. So you'd have to come back the next night and you would do that again. And you would do that until you had used up your whole roll of film. And then you would go in and process the film, and hopefully somewhere between frame 1 and 12 or 24, you have what you want. So there's a lot of experimenting that goes on, and I don't think it would take long before you'd figure out the pH of your chemistry, the temperature of your chemistry, the type that you're using, that you would eventually get to a point where I won't say it becomes complete second nature to you, because there's always variables that occur, but that you get pretty good at it after a while. You begin to know.
Interesting.
Yep. Very good. Very good. All right. All right, Rob, you want to stop sharing your screen there?
Oh, sorry about that. I thought I
That's
did.
okay. That's okay.
There you go.
All right. All right. Again, thank you, Rob. We appreciate it. I'm going to pop up a thing on the screen here real quick as soon as I figure out how. And it should be that one right there. You guys should see some pictures.
Calendar photos.
Calendar
pretty.
photos. All right. So those were the 12 that were chosen. Yes, I know it's February, and yes, I know I'm running late on this, but deal with it. I'll fix it. I'll figure out what I'm going to do. But anyhow, those were the 12 photos that were chosen for the calendar. If one of those photos is yours, I need you to send me a larger version of your photograph. These are all very small. I don't want to use them to print the calendar with.
Yeah.
So if you see your picture, you're going to send me a larger version. And in the chat right now is a link to a photo album where you can upload those. I would like a photo that's 8 inches long on the long side and 300 DPI. That'll give me plenty of photograph to work with, and I'll get our calendar figured out for us.
Brian, can you mention the winners? I mean, those are really fantastic photos. I mean,
I could if I knew who they were. So that's the reason I said, if one of those is yours, send me a picture.
yeah, no.
I can tell you that this one is mine. I can tell
Next
you
one over.
that one. What's
The
that?
the pink flower is mine.
Okay, so the flower here is Beth's.
The barn is Dennis's.
The barn belongs to Dennis. There we go. We're getting there.
Suzanne's is that butterfly. I mean the hummingbird going up off of the flower.
I was I was kind of thinking that was Suzanne's.
Oh, it's Suzanne's, yeah.
Yeah.
The
So this
lake
is
with
down-
the fog is mine.
which one?
The lake with the fog and the
This one
trees.
here?
The one in the middle,
Oh,
second down.
this one here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's nice.
All right. So that one there is Linda's.
Yep.
The bottom right one is mine.
Yeah, I was going to say the drone shot. I
That's
know
Jim.
that's Jim's.
The lighthouse is Annie's.
Annie's, yeah.
Lighthouse is Annie's. Okay.
Who belongs to the butterfly?
Suzanne.
No, I bet that's Jim's.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's, I was
oh,
thinking that's
is
Jim's.
it?
Yeah.
The butterfly, yeah, I'm the hummingbird.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're talking about the butterfly. Okay.
And then the sunflowers are mine.
Yeah.
Okay. So the sunflowers is Suzanne's. I'm sorry. Anybody know who the fireworks belong to?
I think, I thought that was Margie's.
So the fireworks and this one here are the only two that I don't know who they belong to at this point. So anyhow, if you got your picture on there, send me a bigger copy so that I can make the prints in the calendar look good and they're the right size, or they'll be big enough. 8 inches on the long side, 300 DPI JPEGs. And you can upload them to the album, and I have the link for the album in the chat right now.
Okay.
Do you know what order you're gonna put them in, Brian?
I do. I have them in an order here on my desk. So yeah, I've got that figured out as of
Oh,
right.
okay.
You know, if they're of course they're in the flare, right? And they're in the flare under calendar. If they're in the calendar flare, you can look on it and see what your collection is.
Oh, yeah.
That may be the possibility. I don't know, but remember we had that issue where not all of the pictures were showing up under the flare, and that's the reason we moved to
Yeah.
Google.
All right, nice try.
So I'll see if I can find out who the other two belong to. I'll have to go through and try to find them on the Reddit page. But
It would be helpful if you sent the link out in an email or.
I am going to do that, Dennis. Yes.
I'm not close to a home computer, so we'll see what we have.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Your computer's in a different state at this point, right?
And it's turned off,
Okay.
but I may have that.
All right, guys. Okay, that was what I wanted to do there. Let me hit my stop share here real quick. Okay. Let's see, what time is it? It is 20 after 8. And we go to there. I have too many screens open. I'm trying to find what screen I need to be on. I spend half my day at work scrolling from one desktop or one set of internet screens to the next set because I have too many open. Okay, there it is. Let me move it here. And I lost it. Oh, there it is. It disappeared again. All right, we're going to, I guess, go take a look at some photographs that are in for critique. I know Margie will be happy about that. I don't know if I think she's left already. I don't see her on here anymore. So she may have left. That's okay. She said she was a little tired. All right. To share that screen. Share. Okay, you guys see Reddit now?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Let's take a look at, let's see, we're 3 months ago, 1 month ago. Do you guys remember doing any of those as for critiques? I think we looked at some of those, didn't we?
We did.
We did. Did we look at,
We did that one. Yes, we did that one.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we got this one here. I doubt very much we looked at that. It was posted 7 days ago. Let's take a look at that one. This is Rex's picture. Assuming it was taken when we were down at Phipps there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah, both. There's actually two completely different pictures, but each is from the trip that we made down there.
All right. Well, let's talk about this, guys, and then we'll let Rex explain it to us. Anybody at all? Did everyone's mics go bad?
No, it's a nice photo, nice color, nice detail. It's unusual with that background. Makes it pretty unique.
I actually kind of wish Margie was still here because this is kind of up her alley.
Yeah.
It is unusual is a good word. I think that is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm confused by it. So,
Well, I think that it shouldn't have to have a printed title in order to accompany the picture. The picture itself should be self-sustaining. I guess that would self-supporting. That's the word. But there were two that I had put up there. One was a very sort of lavender pink, looked like a reflection, like it was floating or like it was being looked at from actually underneath the water. And it was just a very pastel, calm kind of picture. And this one, when I looked at it, the faces looked like one of Chucky's friends. And that's why I printed it this way, that they're projecting forward at you. And the background is sort of obviously dark and maybe unsettling. It's just that because there's nothing there other than the hint of leaves and some branches. Then there's the projection of the flowers, the orchids themselves, and I just could not see a face in them, and it did not look like very happy faces. So they were actually posted up there as complimentary. That one was a very calm, I thought, nice pastel looking rendering of the plants, and this one the antithesis of it.
You're talking about two different photos.
Yes, yes. The one that I have above it was past it. Just the next one up. Oh no, it's in the. They should. There they are. Okay, that one. That's just more pastel. Both of the photographs had a lot of experimenting going on with, and
when you say
dragging a photo into another, what?
You mean you're processing and experimentation?
A lot of experimenting going on, right, in both of them. And that's what I came up with this one. And the number of iterations that I go through would be near impossible to read back. But the bottom line is that this one produced, it came, I don't know what's going to happen when I start working on these things. That's that is part of why I'm doing it. I want to do something and I want it to look like something, and I may have an idea of what I want it to look like, but it may not wind up looking quite like what I want. And sometimes it looks completely different, and I enjoy the surprise. I enjoy what comes out. And this one, I thought, I really liked the way the leaves were rendered. The background is graded, starting darker at the bottom, moves up to gray at the top. And if you look a little bit closer at the petals, you can see that they do have some texture. So there is some detail, and there's two little nemesis at the bottom that are peeking out. So there's what I would call the process of discovery. If you're looking at it in a 20 by 24, it probably would have been a lot easier to see immediately. But if you zoom in on it, you can take a look and see these two little creatures looking out at the bottom. So there's a little bit of everything in it. I think that the left, right, top, bottom, the positioning of it, I thought was good. I sometimes think taking the original plant and showing it right beside the finished artwork is good to do. And sometimes I don't think it is. Sometimes I think there's some kind of a loss or a takeaway in it, but that's just my own thinking. So the idea of trying to be artistic is using all of these filters and features and taking what I'm looking at and what I have to work with and turning it into something that I think, would I make an 8 by 10 of it, or wow, do I like it enough that I would put it on the wall? This particular one, I would make a 20 by 30 of it, and I would be very happy with it. I think that depending on the decor in the room, that this would be a very nice one. And the other one, I just did it for fun.
Of the two, I like this one better.
Mm-hmm.
The first one just is kind of distracting, and I don't know where to look. This, and you're talking to an artist, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very artistic. I like that part with the first one, but this one reminds me of like leather work, where you did some carving or something on a piece of leather.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this one.
This one, I think the relief filter was used on this. It wasn't a relief filter. It was the filter, one of the filters that has the relief adjustment in it, which is why you see the light reflections around the edges of them. And these leaves were really bright green. And as you can see, after I got done with them, they look just like they're floating in water to me. Beth, I think you mentioned the top edges of these flowers here, of these petals on this orchid. And I thought that it looked to me like they fell into the water, and you're looking at it, the plant sort of collapsed and is just laying there in that clear water.
Okay.
You should print it for the show, Rex, so we can all see
Yeah.
what it looks like printed.
Yeah.
It'd
Now,
be interesting.
I
Rex,
remember.
I agree.
Go ahead.
I
What are those
agree.
two items at the bottom at 6 o'clock?
That's what I was talking about. If you
I'm
look at them
sorry.
closer, yeah, it's a process of discovery. They're kind of comical too. If you look at them closely, they look like these two little peekaboos
Forks or something.
stuck out from the bottom.
Okay.
It gives it something else. In other words, after your eyes have scanned everything that's there, I thought, well, there's a little surprise there at the bottom that makes it interesting as well.
Hmm.
It's
Good.
sort of
That's
like,
it.
hey, look at these two little things at the bottom here. These two little critters sticking out. So there's a lot of fantasy. It is it has the I guess some fantasy has been put into it. Put it that way.
I agree. You should put it in the show.
Well, I can do that. I can do that. I'll have to have it printed up. The other one I was going to say, while I'm thinking about all these things, this one, the leaves in the background are completely changed because I was curious about how to use the spin filter. So I went to work with the two different frames, the ones with the flowers, and there's actually three. And I'm sure there are others of us who had photographed this very bunch of orchids, excuse me, that the bottom orchid was so out of focus, the third one at the bottom and darker, that I took it out completely. And it allowed me to come in closer to the ones that were sharper. But the background, I wanted to create the way you see the leaves somewhat point inwards towards, just randomly towards the center of the picture, was something that I was after. Or if you look at the other way, like on the bottom left-hand side, they might seem to finger their way out, like those little green parts are working out of the picture. But the idea being that I used the spin filter to create this pattern that I decided I liked and would use. So the spin filter was used on this one, and I can't remember which version of it because there's like 5 or 6 different ways to use the spin filter, and you can make it in different sizes and create a different amount of stretch to them. So the idea was, I had one that I thought was a rather quiet, nice looking thing. And then the other one would just scare the heck out of a kid.
This one that's on the screen now looks like it's on an ink block of some type.
Oh, well, anyway, I called it Chucky's Friends specifically because if you look at it, it looks like something that is an unsettling face. And it's strange that orchids are as beautiful as they are, and yet they can have this face. I don't know, has anybody else ever seen what looked like faces in the orchids that are on display?
Yeah, I've seen, I've
Okay.
looked at them and seen things that were strange looking. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're a very interesting species of flower.
there's so many.
All right. Well, thank you, Rex. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Rex, out of curiosity, would you submit these for a jury photo selection?
For a jury,
Yeah.
well, okay, now I might have missed the boat here, but what jury selection is this?
I mean, I'm just saying, would you submit this as a photo with manipulation or digital art? I mean, how would you classify this?
Oh, you mean if I were to think about the elements, the 12 professional elements. The fun one, no, but the upper one with the, yes, yeah, the upper one I would. The original idea, the one that I was working, really working to try to make something interesting from. Yes, the one with the that pink and lavender looks like it's laying in the water type. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would submit that. I thought that the composition was correct. Is correct. I think that it has the separation between the two different key main features of it, the flower, the petals themselves, and then the leaves, about 2/3 of the leaves at the bottom. And then there's no noise. There's nothing like a leaf or anything leaning into the picture. And there's no Brian bright spots in there. That's important. Okay.
All right.
Yes, I would submit that one.
All right. All right, guys, let's take a look at this picture here. This is, I believe Rebecca's. I think she's still on with us.
Yep, that's me. That's the same flower that Rex just took, actually. I bought some film at Premier Imaging not long ago by Lomography called Turquoise. I thought it was just like a pre-exposed with the color on it, but it's actually a color shifting film. So this was a little just experimentation with the film, and it is straight out of the camera. And I kind of thought the effect was pretty cool.
That's cool.
So, okay, hold on. We're going to go back here for a second.
There's a couple in there.
So it's like this here. It's
Yes,
this flower, and the film itself turned it into that color.
Yep.
Okay.
I kind of like it. I kind of like this film. I might have to get more.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that at? I might have to break out the film camera again.
Yeah, I got it at Premier Imaging in North Hills. There's one
Okay.
in the South Hills Village Mall, there's one in Monroeville too. They have it, but I believe you can find it on Amazon as well. It's by Lomography called Turquoise, and they apparently have a slide built version of it too. But yeah, the film's pretty cool.
And where'd you get it developed at?
It's a C41, so wherever does color developing,
Okay.
same spot.
Okay. Huh. Oh, Beth.
I've used their Metropolis, but I haven't tried any of their other stuff yet. And actually, all the Metropolis that I've done, I don't think I've gotten any of it developed yet.
You said there's one in Monroeville Mall.
I think so. I think they
I
still,
think
yeah,
there
they still.
is.
I thought it closed, or maybe it moved.
It was open about a month ago. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's still open. The one in the North Hills was in Northway Mall. Now they've moved down to the shopping center, where Target is, a while ago. And they
Yeah,
just
they're kinda-
opened one at the South Hills Village Mall.
Yeah, they're kind of hard to find. It's a little tiny storefront. You got to walk down a hallway
Yeah,
to get to it.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right, guys, you got anything comments or anything on that one? Boy.
I think I'm looking.
Killing me tonight.
I think it's really interesting. Like it almost has like a UV look to it. As if that's what the flower would look like if you were using UV. But it's
I think it's very interesting that it's the same flower.
Yeah.
You would never know that.
I mean, it's the same flower as this one, and it's completely different. And it's
Yeah.
not so much that it's not so much to the colors. I realize that the colors are different, but just the angle from one flower to the next, or from one photograph to the next, I should say, changes the whole outlook of the photo of the flower. It's completely different. It's amazing.
I'm glad we happened to look at the pink one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you guys wouldn't believe me.
Also, you had to turn it from its print or negative into a digital image. How did you go about that?
They just did a regular digital scan. That was
Oh,
it.
oh, they gave you the scan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
had them develop, print, and scan it for me.
Ah,
Okay. Very cool. All
Yeah,
right.
the negatives are really funky looking. And there's a few more with that film. And those were those deep purple flowers. I think those were those.
Cool.
Guys, no matter what the film, it's just there's just something about looking at an actual film photograph. I
Yeah,
know,
right?
I know it's digital, but it's from a negative and it's just different, guys.
Yeah.
So
Yep. I'm shooting more and more film lately.
all right, anybody got anything to say about this one?
I was more curious in general, Rebecca. Did you shoot only at with that film, or did you shoot anything outdoors too, like landscapes or anything?
With that film?
Yeah.
Not yet. This was my very first role, and I thought it might kind of be cool with the flowers. So I will be trying it on other subjects for sure.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool with the effects on the flowers and everything.
Uh-huh.
Almost, I think Beth said almost like an infrared. I think it was
A
Beth.
little bit, yeah.
Like UV, yeah.
Or yeah, that's what I meant. I'm
'Cause that's a
sorry.
whole
I'm
thing,
still in
too.
work. I'm still in work mode.
Rebecca, what ISO film is it?
400.
400? Okay. I was just looking at the amount of grain that's in it, which is like perfect, but I was just kind of wondering how much actual what the ISO of it was.
Yeah, I put a link in the chat to show the color shifting, what it does to different colors. Kind of
And
interesting.
I put a link in, you can buy it at Freestyle.
All right, cool.
If you have a 110 camera, you can buy purple.
That'd be cool.
A 110 camera. Good Lord.
I must have one around here. I mean, how could I not?
I'd have to dig deep. I probably have one, but I'd have to dig deep to find it. It's in a
I used
box
to have
somewhere.
two
I
of
bet.
them. I need to go look for those.
All right, guys, let's take a look at the next picture. Rebecca had a couple in here. Same film again.
Yeah, all four of them are.
I really like that viewpoint.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at that.
The little spikes really show up well, too.
yeah, they're critical sharp.
That's called the crux. So when anybody asks, that's the crux of the matter. All right, I'll go with it.
And it's shot with my old Canon EOS 3, which is probably my favorite camera ever. And the 24 to 105.
Good job.
How'd you guys like them?
Yep. Any other comments, guys? All right, and let's catch the last one here.
I have a few more on my Instagram. I think I shared about 10 different ones on my Instagram too. If you want to check those out just to see other effects of the film.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how it affects each plant a different way.
Yeah, super cool.
I think this one's my favorite.
I was going to say the same. There's just something about this one that is just, I don't know what it is, but there's something about this one that I really like a lot. I'd like to see this printed.
Yeah. This one reminds me a lot of the large format, well, almost large format instant stuff from Fuji,
Okay.
the color, the 100C stuff. And just something about it just looks like that.
I think they look like those microbes that grow in your hair and on your skin.
Oh,
Great.
I'm going.
I like the composition of this, and it's the texture, the sharpness, again, the grain from the film. It's really a reminiscent of a picture you would see from, before digital existed, kind of thing. It really is. It looks good.
Thank you.
Good depth of field too. It's just enough to be
Yeah.
sharp where it needs to be, and then the depth of field falls off, and really nice. I like it. Anybody else have any comments?
Anything you don't like? Is it too weird?
So I'm gonna paint my bedroom that color.
No, I don't really see anything that's weird, other than maybe just a little bit of how the tip of this being dark goes into that dark area. And I know that
Okay, that's fair. That's
there's
fair.
nothing really that you can do about that, but
Yeah.
that's kind of just a little bit distracting.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean, I
You might
don't
look-
see anything.
You might look into that upper right corner, black blob
The
spot.
back club, yeah.
Right here.
That bugs
Yeah.
me.
But
Yeah, I
that's-
mean, if we was
even
fixing it
that's-
with the digital, you could probably fix that pretty quick and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little vignette.
Yeah.
There's a spot sort of straight up from the middle around the top third. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
down, no, down. Yeah, in that area where there's residue from the chemicals. The
Nice.
white,
Like here,
nope, go up. Yeah, right there.
right here.
See, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Yeah, I like that sort of thing. I didn't even notice it, but I didn't look at them that detailed.
I would. Because I
See
would
now, I'm okay with
consider-
that.
I would consider trying to wash that off, just because not knowing which chemical it is that
Yeah,
there's residues from could affect the longevity.
okay, I see. Okay.
But I know that washing that sort of stuff off the negatives is a whole pain in the ass. And doesn't always work well, and sometimes shows. But that's the only spot that I think is kind of But that's me, because I'm always trying for as dust-free as
Yeah.
possible.
Now, see, I look at that in two different ways. Yes, I like the dust free, but at the same time, I actually like the little piece here, the dust spots and all that, because to me that just adds to the old school film thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
no matter how hard I've ever tried with film, in printing my own film and developing my own film and everything, I've never been able to get it completely dust free. So I've kind of come to understand that it's going to be there, and I kind of like looking forward to it, because you never quite know. I mean, as long as it's not like, great big long pieces of fuzz or whatever, but just
Yeah.
the little bits and pieces here, and it to me just adds so much to a film photograph anymore.
If you can't beat it, join it.
Yeah. Add some more to it. I don't know. I kind of like them. I see them, there's a couple here, a couple here. And yeah, I mean, you got it as a digitized form and you could get rid of them like instantly.
Sure,
I
but
don't
why?
think, I don't think you should. I think they should be
Mm-mm.
to show that it is a film photo, I think they just kind of give you a little bit of distinction. All right. Cool shots, Rebecca.
Thanks.
Mhm.
All right, so it doesn't look like there was any more for critique that we haven't looked at. So let's go take a look at. Linda, you want us to take a look at your bird there?
It was just a shot that I'm stuck at the house because I have a foster puppy right now. So I can only do things in the backyard, and I was practicing birds in flight. I saw him perched up in a tree, and just as I went to take a shot, he left. So I got lucky.
Very cool.
Wow, that's perfect pose.
Oh, and actually, that one, the bottom of his wing was right up against the edge of the photograph. So I was finally able to go into Photoshop and play around and add that bottom piece. So I was real happy that I was able to do that.
That's clever. Very nice. That's clever.
That's a good opportunity to do that and help yourself out with the photo. Yep.
And you wouldn't know it. It looks good.
This is one of the birds that they used as a idea for one of the bombers. I don't know if it's the stealth bomber, but his shape, the way his body is shaped and everything is, I think, what they used as a kind of a help to the stealth bomber whenever they were designing that airplane.
I'm kind of amazed. Like I said, I'm stuck at the house, so I'm sitting in the backyard with this puppy in the backyard, and I get to see all these things out there that I just kind of forgot were out there. I saw a merlin out there today, which I'm in the middle of Penn Hills, you know.
I don't mean to be bad, but how small is your puppy?
He's a year old. He's
Okay.
he's a foster dog, and he'll be put up for adoption this week.
Uh-huh.
And he's a beautiful, beautiful dog, and
Yeah.
he is the most loving dog I've ever had. But she is a handful.
Yeah.
She's still chewing on things, and it's fun and it's not fun. So
Yeah. Well, the tragic comedy is I was thinking about these birds of prey and just how small. I know they'll take a squirrel or somebody's hamster or anything like that and just swap it right up and take it. So I guess
this puppy's big enough. He's not gonna
babysitter.
get taken.
What was this?
That puppy's big enough. He's not going to get taken. That's
Oh,
for sure.
okay. You can
What
take a
type of
bite out
bird?
of the bird.
Yep.
All right.
What type of dog?
What kind of dog is it, Linda?
Well, it's part husky, and I think it's probably part hunting dog, because when you walk it, its nose is on the ground and it doesn't come up. And it kind of howls when it barks. She's a wonderful, wonderful. Anybody need a dog? She's wonderful.
Two already.
Well, she can deal with the cold weather. That's good.
Oh, she just wants to lay out in the yard. So
We have an elk hound that does that. When we had snow, he is out there lying on the ground.
yeah.
They like the cold.
Did anybody take a tripod into Phipps?
DL, I think he had one last time. DL?
There was
Admit it.
DL had a monopod with little feet on the end on the bottom of it.
Yep.
Oh, is that what it
there were several people there with tripods.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily from our group, but I did see several people with tripods.
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne, you had a little tripod, didn't you?
Yeah, it was that monopod thing with the 3 feet.
Oh, with the feet on the
you
bottom.
know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't very secure, so I had to use like a 10-second delay for things to settle down
Okay.
before I took the shots.
So is that what you used for this shot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was actually the reason I pulled this shot up. I wanted to find out what you used to get the slow shutter speed.
Yeah.
For the water.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do it without it.
All right, so while we got it up there, anybody got any comments on this one?
I like how the leaves actually take sort of more center focus. And the waterfall is just kind of like the backup,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice.
And they kind of pop out, and I think it's because of the red green.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
makes them pop out of the picture itself.
Like when you look at that, does it make you think it's a bigger waterfall than it actually is?
No.
Because it was pretty small.
Yeah, because I know that one too.
Yeah.
I would say, Suzanne, if it was someone that did not know where it was or what it is, it may look like more of a waterfall, or it goes much further from, down below where it's at. But the problem is that every one of us knows where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it deserves a little experimentation in black and white.
Yeah, I did that one. I didn't do in black and white, but there were other versions of that I did. And I kind of like them too.
Yeah, I'd probably try it a little bit in black and white, see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Can't hurt. All right. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to about 3 minutes to 9. I think we can kind of call it there. We got some other pictures to look at. I'll leave some for Margie if she's feeling better or awake at the next meeting. If not, we'll do a little bit more critiquing at the next one. Our SWIG meeting, I owe you guys still my part of the last SWIG meeting part. So I'll do that at the SWIG meeting, which is what was it, the start to finish of working on a photograph, I believe is what the idea was, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll do that at the next SWIG meeting along with whatever else is going on. And I think that's all I got for this evening. I appreciate everybody. Rob, again, thank you very much. Great presentation. Thank you for your prayer for everyone's for their participation and questions and comments. Couple things there in the chat. If you had to photograph in the calendar, send it to me. Pop it on there. I'll send an email with that link as well. Like Dennis said, I'll do that right now. As soon as we get off of here, I'll send that email with that link while I still have it fresh in my mind. Otherwise, I'll forget about it for 3 weeks. So anything else? Anybody have anything they want to bring up?
Are we going to be having an officers meeting soon?
We will, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I have nothing to put in Mark's newsletter if we don't.
Nothing for March? Yeah, we have March figured
Oh,
out.
no, I meant for going beyond March.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because April would be, for the April one, I wouldn't have anything.
Right. So yes, we will have it either in the next couple weeks, probably. We'll
Okay.
do one. I got to get with Margie and find out when she's available. I don't know if she wants to, if you guys want to do it in person or we're going to do it online like we did, but we'll figure that out.
Okay.
In person gets us pizza though. All right, guys.
To buy our own.
All right, guys. Anything else? Nope. All right. Well, good meeting, guys.
Y'all have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good seeing
Dennis,
everybody.
enjoy it out there.
Night, everybody.
Happy birthday, Brian, again.
All
Many
right.
more.
Thank you. We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.